One of the most important things that I learned in my journey after losing my son, and he didn't just die, he actually was killed. And learning how my son was killed, he was killed by two other people and a mother. As a mother, I could not see myself allowing my children or anyone else to participate in something that would take the life of someone else. As a parent, we have a responsibility to, teach our children and those that we come in contact with how to be responsible people. I didn't always make responsible decisions myself as a woman, let alone as a mother. And one of those things I had to learn, and it was very hard for me. And I wore it with a smile because I didn't want anybody to know what I was feeling because I felt guilty for my son dying. And the reason I felt guilty was because yesterday actually made 9 years that my son was killed. Prior to that, I experienced a relationship that was not what God had ordained. And from that relationship, something tragic happened, that I'm still here today to talk about it. But I allowed myself and I walked into that relationship. And because it ended with death, I felt guilty because, of course, growing up in church, you taught you sow a seed, you reap a harvest. So I felt because of the seed I had planted, which was with my daughter's father, who was a married man, um, the relationship ended by him actually trying to take my life, and then he took his. And so I felt my harvest was my son's death because the seed I had planted being in the wrong relationship. So I had to forgive myself, and it was a process. And as everyone have said, we're not perfect. Grief looks different for everybody. Yeah. Because of the things that, and I don't say that to say it's an excuse, but when you don't get healed properly, because I'm a preacher's kid, and you try to go to church, you pray, 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 pray. But what happens when you leave out of the church? What coping skills do you actually have when you leave out of the church? So, of course, as African Americans, we're taught you don't go to counseling. We don't do that. You don't talk about what happens in the house. But I had to seek help. I had to seek professional help as well as spiritual help. And it actually took me outside of the religion that I grew up in to join another church where my pastor laid a foundation. And so he taught me those principles where I had to learn how to forgive myself, to say that I wasn't responsible for my son's death. I didn't kill him, but I felt that that was my harvest because of what had happened years prior. So grief looks different for everybody, and you have to learn how to grieve, but also don't stay in that place. It's okay to not be okay, but don't stay there. And the hardest part was forgiving myself because I felt responsible. The other part to that is that it's okay to be in a place where you tell people no. Well, and that means, and true story, at my son's funeral, as I'm crying and trying to get through that process, everybody was crying, leaning on me. And I'm like, wait, this is my child. Right. I can't hold you up right now. Come on. I have to hold myself up. And I begin to carry that. I begin to carry everyone's else grief. You can't carry someone else's grief. That's right. We may go through the same thing, but it's not going to look the same. So until you walk in yourself, your truth, and whatever purpose that you have, and I said, God, you purpose for me to tell this story and this lady right here, these two, because they tag team. And I ran from both of them. And then this one, mother, ended up living in the same city that my sister lived in, and she came down the street looking for me. But I thank God because you have to have a support system, and that's not always your family. Because sometimes they're in a place and they have not gotten the deliverance, the healing that they need, and they can't help you. So sometimes those people would not come from the people that you came out of the womb with, or that you were raised up with, your cousins and all those play people and all those folks. You have to get some other strong people in your life who didn't necessarily walk your journey, but they can help you get through that process. And so I'm just here to tell you, grief doesn't look the same, but guess what? You can get through it.
I love it.